Good morning and welcome back to your morning drive. News Talk 550 KCRS. It's the voice of West Texas. I'm Chris Moore.
I'm Dale Harris.
Joining us in studio this morning from Partners Relief and Development, it is Steve Gumaer.
Good morning,
sir.
Thank you.
How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Thanks for joining us. I know it's early. First thing he said is, I need a coffee. So I said, lucky you. Dale made fresh coffee this morning, and it's radio coffee, so it's the worst.
Station performed well with that bad coffee.
There you go. We run on Dale coffee. How are you? Let's kind of give them a little bit of a background on Partners Relief and Development. Tell us what that is.
My team works in areas where violence and conflict prevent children from having food, water, and shelter, school, and things that our kids take for granted. So we're a small team, relatively small, 75 full-time staff. Our emphasis right now is working in Myanmar and the ethnic states and the countries that the war spills out into.
Mm-hmm.
And in Syria, we work in Syria, both the Kurdish and the Assad regions, based out of Dahuk in northern Iraq. We also have programs running in Yemen.
Oh my goodness. So is that where you currently are living?
No. We have teams in those places.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I was just kind of getting a clarification on that. But you just said one of the biggest topics that's going on right now is Syria, because of course President Trump has decided to withdraw the troops from that area. So what are your thoughts on this, and how is that going to affect the border there?
Well, our friends in Kurdish Syria, in Qamishli and Kobani,
Mm-hmm.
told us a couple of months ago when this was being discussed that it would be a disaster for them, potentially a bloodbath for them, because the only reason that they have relative security now is because of the Allied forces and their support of the Kurdish resistance. That happened, the whole thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
The Kurds are our allies because we took the war against terror, namely ISIS, to them,
Mm-hmm.
to where they are, instead of allowing it to come to us. That's why our soldiers are over there. And so as we have invested in supporting them and rooting ISIS especially out of Raqqa and the surrounding villages,
Mm-hmm.
we've done the job that we went to do. Doing that alongside the Kurds meant that 10,000 of their fighters also died. Actually, 11,000 Kurdish fighters died in their fight with us against ISIS. And now if we pull out in this vulnerable moment, not only are they facing the scattering of ISIS that is still there and still present, just not condensed in a central command. There's that, but then there's also Turkey, who call the Kurds terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Assad, who also thinks of them as interlopers or terrorists and wants to cleanse them from his territories as well.
So this is, in your opinion, a very bad idea because of what is going to occur once we pull our troops. How are you going to combat that? How are you going to protect that area? What is your plan moving forward if in fact they do pull the troops?
Well, when this hit the news a couple nights ago,
Mm-hmm.
in earnest, we called our contact there and we're preparing now. We're sending money into that part of Syria right now to buy food and water and prepare our team to transport people away from the fighting. The Turkish plan, the plan is that there would be this 20-mile corridor.
Mm-hmm.
That corridor runs along the lines of some major cities. One of them is a city of over 1 million people called Kobani. So our team needs to get into place to be able to help people get away and have the provisions they need as they wait out what happens in this fighting. When this hit Fox and CNN and all of the news a few days ago, that night the Turkish Air Force blew up one of the border crossings that we use to access that part of the country. And then yesterday, 3 positions were bombed. And then last night, again, I woke up to news that 3 ISIS suicide bombers had blown up Kurdish positions that were outside of Raqqa. So what we will see is not just an increase in violence against the Kurdish resistance. We'll see the mothers and fathers and children of this part of the country displaced and harmed and even killed because of this aggression by Turkey.
Why do you feel, if you have an opinion, because I told you this is definitely an opinion talk show, why do you feel President Trump made this decision to pull the troops? Because obviously it is not stable there yet. And obviously, being in the media, we know how left the media kind of tilts. They didn't even give us any information about these bombings that have occurred so far. So why do you feel like he's done this? Do you think he's just not informed, or?
Oh, I definitely think he's informed, and I think some of the most intelligent people in the world are giving him advice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how he's processing that. But I do think that this was a campaign promise. This is what he said he would do. He would pull out of foreign wars where our young men and women are being harmed or killed,
Mm-hmm.
fighting other people's wars.
Mm-hmm.
The difference, since this is an opinion radio.
Yes, it is. It's totally opinion. So love to hear yours.
Yeah. The difference with this particular conflict, again, is that we're not over fighting someone else's war. We're over there fighting our war against ISIS.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they hit us and we're hitting them back. We don't want them to come to our shores again. We don't want their kind of violence in the United States. So we took the fight to where they are. The Kurds were our allies in our fight. We weren't the allies to the Kurds in their fight. Of course, it's theirs too.
Mm-hmm. But
our objective was to protect our own borders. Our objective was, to care for our own country. The U.S. troops that are in Kurdish Syria are serving the best interests of the United States. And what they have done is worked alongside people who are very motivated because of the historic denial of justice to them. That connection, that sacrifice that was made in both ways should be honored, and we should follow through both with our objectives to prevent ISIS from reforming and causing the trouble that they brought on the world. And also, we should not just walk away from allies that have laid down their lives for us.
So do you feel that ISIS will, in fact, grow from this and become bigger and possibly start more attacks? So they've been kind of quiet, but they can definitely build back up.
I definitely think that given renewed chaos, that's where they live.
Plan. Yeah.
Yeah. That they have the opportunity to regroup in cells, in command, in places where the vacuum of leadership or power is lost. So yeah, definitely, I think that it's a threat to the world and to us that this conflict could reproduce the kind of chaos that ISIS thrives in.
Okay. We are getting closer to getting into Rush Limbaugh, but how can folks help? How can folks help Partners Relief and Development with the folks in Syria, but other folks? Because you don't just concentrate in Syria, you're at a variety of other places that need help. But how can people that are listening help you, help them?
We're throwing everything we've got at Syria right now, and the best way to help would be to contribute. And on our website, that's World Wide Web, partners.ngo. If they go to partners.ngo, they can find a way to contribute to this effort to help the families of Kurdish Syria get through this period.
Okay, one more time, give them that website, because I encourage everyone to help as much as they can.
Thanks, Chris. It's World Wide Web, partners, Partners, partners.ngo.
All right. Steve Gumaer, Partners Relief and Development, giving us details on what their organization does, currently working on the Syria border, trying to assist those families, women, children, to get to a safe place before the United States pulls our troops. We sure appreciate you coming in this morning, and thank you for what you do.
Thanks, Chris.